Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KitBadger.com, here to bring you another gear review. Today, talking about this hoodie right here. This is my DA hoodie version 2 by Prometheus Design Werx. I'm going to go ahead and start with, I have used this a lot. As of filming this, probably had it and been using it for about a year now, and with that, logged a lot of miles in the backcountry, taken on a lot of adventures, a lot of airline travel with it, used it in a lot of different situations, and there's absolutely a lot of good things I really like about it. And I mean, there's no free lunch, so there's a little bit of a trade-off too. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with the many things I actually really appreciate about this hoodie. We'll go ahead and start with material. This is made of a Polartech WindPro 9504, if that number means anything to you. And it is a polyester fleece coated with DWR, durable water repellent, I believe it is. But the fact that this is a wind layer is huge. There hasn't been a lot of times where I put on a outer layer or mid layer, like a fleece, and I'm like, oh man, I really wish the wind would blow and just take all my body heat away from me right now. Like, that doesn't usually happen for me. I'm usually putting this on because I want to stay warm, and it's not very warm at the time. So being able to have this combined with warmth, i.e. that wind protection, that right there is huge for me. And coupled with the DWR, I can use this a lot of times as a solo layer up here in the Pacific Northwest. If it's going to be pouring, this will of course get wet, and it will rob you of some of its insulation value, but you also won't freeze. Like, this is not a cotton hoodie. And having that wind protection, that's probably one of the more important things for me. That with the insulation this provides. Of features, this thing has many. Right here we have dual YKK zippers. So if this is zipped all the way up, but maybe you need access something around your waistline, you can actually unzip the bottom to create space if you have this guy cinched down. On either side we have these hand pockets, again zippered. Inside you have this mesh, which is nice because if you spend time in the outdoors and jam shit in your, or stuff in your pockets, it allows dirt and whatnot to actually go through if you end up with random stuff. Also, you have these lanyards, both pockets. They allow you to dummy cord important things, maybe car keys, something along those lines. And then inside, again, there's the mesh, and that's basically the footprint of that pocket. But you also have this stash pocket. These have become really important for me, especially filming out in the backcountry. The cold destroys batteries, and I control my camera through things that require batteries, or even my camera batteries for that matter. And so if it's really cold, being able to drop, whether it's your phone or any other electronic components, down inside here, keep them close to your body, use some of your body heat to keep them warm, it's pretty clutch. Over here in the armpits, there's laser cut ventilation, which comes in handy because this thing can get warm. And then on either sleeve, we have a Velcro field. Right here, I have a pretty awesome patch by PDW. They have, side note, pretty awesome with respect to their patch game. And then either sleeve also has a zippered pocket, which allows you to store things in there as well. Maybe you have pack on, something else, don't have access to your other pockets, allows you to throw stuff in there that you may need access to. On the back side, we have guide cloth, which is used basically for abrasion resistance along the elbows and forearms. And it's also used around the cuffs, to include right here on each cuff where you actually have thumb holes. Whether you want to essentially lock this thing down so you don't get any draft, or put them on so that when you put an outer layer on, you don't lose your sleeve while putting it on. Also along the hem, on either side, you have one of these little nubbins. Basically, it is a one-handed pull adjustment. So you grab this little guy, pull it out, and it tightens the shock cord that runs around this whole thing. So think about it like a skirt in like a snowboarding jacket. If it's really windy, or maybe you're going through snow or something like that, you can crank this thing down and it'll cinch it tight around your body, so you won't ideally get any wind, snow, anything like that up into your jacket and probably pants at that point, which would be a bummer. As far as other features, the hood, it's pretty generous, and it has a little built-in visor. And then across the whole front of it, you have this little windshield. So when you zip it up, unlike other jackets I've had, where you zip it up and you're like, man, that's really cold, because you have literally a zipper and then your body. And so it doesn't matter how much down insulation or whatever other material you have on either side, if there's nothing behind your zipper, like you're basically wearing a jacket the dimensions of a zipper. So while this isn't super thick, it definitely stops the wind and keeps heat loss essentially through that area. How have I used this jacket? Yes, pretty much all of the ways. One of the ways I've actually used this is going up like in the snow in winter, and I'll usually pair it with something like this right here. This is the Iliad Field Jacket. I've reviewed it before, also by Prometheus Design Werx. No, you don't have to use it with this, but it is synergistic. Now, basically, anytime you can have some sort of shell that'll, one, help with heat loss through this, even though this does a good job with respect to maintaining that body heat, help with heat loss, as well as shed even more wind. In addition to that, shed moisture. So this, underneath any shell, works really good with respect to layering. And because this is wind resistant, it does a really good job of keeping you warm. Like, you don't immediately just get cold when the wind kicks up because you have something maybe high loft, but without any kind of hard face to it to stop the wind. I've used this actually recently. I ended up going out for a little overnight adventure, testing a survival kit, bringing just what I had, and this was absolutely clutch. Without this, it would have been a even longer and more miserable night's sleep out there, out of doors. And yeah, like, I actually enjoy traveling with this too. More often than not, usually get stuck in an airport somewhere. Definitely slept on the floor overnight, Dallas, Fort Worth, with this guy right here. And yeah, it saved me from being really cold. This didn't magically make it a comfortable bed, but kept me from being cold. And I've, yeah, continued to use it because it continues to do a really good job for me. One thing I will say, because I talked about no free lunch. So what are things I don't care for? Well, not the design, but the material. Love the material for tons of different reasons, which I've explained to you. The one thing I will say, which is a con, depending on your application, is if you are traveling with this, or maybe you're gonna put it in your backpack, like, this will only get so small. Like, that's it. That is one of the, basically one of the properties of the fleece, is it will only get so small, which can be good or bad. I mean, you can get a down jacket really small, and then it can also get wet and get even smaller and be totally worthless. This doesn't have issues with moisture or anything like that. Still retains a lot of its ability to keep you warm. But as far as being able to pack this down or weight, yeah, like, there's a little bit of a trade-off there. Do I mind? Absolutely not. If I'm going somewhere where it is an issue, i.e., I probably am not going to need a warming layer, but I may want a warming layer, this might not be what I grab, because it might make sense to have some sort of puffy layer that I can actually compress down, doesn't take up very much space, and then if I need it, I can pull it out. But if I'm more than likely going to need something warm, I can deal with something that honestly doesn't compress down. Easy trade-off. Other things of note. One, all the seams in here are flat seams. Think about like a wetsuit or something like that, so that you don't have a seam sticking out, especially if you start putting other layers on over the top of this. Keeps it nice and comfortable. Sizing wise, I'm about 6 feet, 175. This is a medium. I feel like I'm always kind of on the fence. I don't have like a giant chest. I skip chest day. And because of that, like dimensions and stuff like that, maybe the sleeves could be a little longer on this for me, but then it would be bagging my chest. And so I usually stick with medium for my build. That said, if I hunch my shoulders and I bend my elbows, the sleeves come up some. Does that matter? Not an application for me. Usually, if it's going to be really cold, I usually have some layer over it, like the Iliad Field Jacket, and it's a non-issue. Would it be nice if maybe they were a little longer? I don't know, maybe, but this wasn't custom made for me, so it is what it is. Speaking about how it's made, it's actually sewn here in the US, which is pretty cool. It's actually made over in California. These run about $198. If you want to pick one up, you can get one directly through Prometheus Design Werx. One quick note on that, if you want one, I suggest you get one sooner than later. Not that I'm trying to sell these, just if you want one, you should probably pick one up. The reason being is Prometheus Design Werx, pretty small company, pretty nimble, and they'll make batches of things. Because of that, when a batch is gone or a size is sold out, they're pretty much done until they either make another run of it eventually, or maybe they make a different version and bring it out again. That's pretty much how it works. They aren't big enough to just keep this huge backlog of inventory and then throw half of it on like the discount rack at REI. Like, they aren't. Pretty small company. So if you want to pick one up, there's links down below. You can go check them out. And if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. Whether it's just liking and sharing videos or going over to kitbadger.com, picking up KBAT target pads, stickers, patches, any of that stuff. And if you want to be in the loop, make sure you sign up for the email list over at kitbadger.com. Once a week, put out a SITREP email to include a sneak peek of a video that hasn't been released yet, either that week or later or next week, something. Basically a sneak preview of a video. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.